Howdy, friend. Sam Houston here, hoping you're living in high cotton. And if you're lucky enough to be in Texas, I know you're most of the way there. Now enjoy your daily dose of Texas history and Texas pride.
Howdy, friend. Welcome back to the Feed Bandit podcast and your Texas History Roundup for July 14th. In 1843, the Texas Navy ships Austin and Wharton returned to Galveston after a campaign to wrench the Yucatan from Mexico. On arrival, Commodore Edwin W. Moore was arrested for piracy and other charges by the order of President Sam Houston. Moore was later absolved of the major charges against him. In 1879, the 50 Cent Act was passed by the legislature. It provided for selling Texas public lands for 50 cents per acre, with half the proceeds to be spent to reduce the public debt and the rest to establish a permanent school fund. This act was repealed in January 1883, but during the 4 years of it being law, the state sold about 3.2 million acres, which then was worth about $1.6 million. 1881, Billy the Kid. Henry McCarty, alias William H. Bonney, was shot and killed by Lincoln County Sheriff Pat Garrett at the Maxwell Ranch near Fort Sumner, New Mexico. Though many of Billy the Kid's crimes occurred in New Mexico, they spilled over into the Texas Panhandle. There had been an ongoing competition between factions led by Lawrence G. Murphy and John Chisholm, and the Kid had worked for the latter. Garrett's Authentic Life of Billy the Kid is one of the many biographies about him. Some claim McCarthy killed 21 people, but that number is likely an exaggeration. McCarty. McCarty had been born in New York in 1859 and came west with his single mother as a teenager. I did not know that Billy the Kid, William H. Bonney, if you will, his real name was Henry McCarty. In 1993, with the East Texas oil field and the national oil industry facing economic collapse, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed an executive order to regulate crude oil production. Months earlier, the Texas legislature had made the producing of hot oil a felony, and on April 6th, the Railroad Commission shut down the East Texas oil field because production had drastically depressed prices, which is a good thing. This is why government is completely economically illiterate. By the time of Roosevelt's order, crude prices had dropped from 75 cents to less than 10 cents per barrel. Now, that would have taken care of itself over time as the higher cost producers would stop producing and the supply would start being limited and prices would go back up. But no, government steps in and screws everything up, and I'm sure they created a different program to subsidize the old producers or something going on there, or people for work that were put out of business or put out of work. In 1938, Howard Hughes returned to New York City after a record-setting globe-circling trip. He had left New York on July 10th with a 4-man crew, and their global trip took 3 days, 19 hours, and 17 minutes. 7 years earlier, Wiley Post and Harold C. Gatty had taken almost 9 days for their global trip. All right. Well, that, my friend, was your Texas History Roundup for July 14th. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you back here tomorrow on the next one. You take care.
Well, there you have it. If you like our podcast, check us out at feedbandit.com. There you'll find awesome Texas First outdoors gear and apparel. Your purchase helps support the Bandits and keeps this podcast on the air, fighting for you and for Texas. Remember, preserve the tradition, protect the legacy. Until next time.